Hello, everybody.
Of the time.
My name is Yasser Aman, Professor of English Literature. I'm Egyptian, but I'm currently seconded to Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University, Saudi Arabia. Today I'm talking about literature, poetry, Chinese American poetry. The title of the paper is Theory of Time and Literature, a study of Tina Chang's origin in Ash and the idea of revelation. As you see, I have salient points here. The deduction, which I've already made. I'm talking about a theory of time, different theories of time. Then my proposed theory. Then I talk about Tina Chang, Chinese American poet, and her relationship to the Asian American canon, literary canon. And I take two examples, two poems, Origin and Ash, and the idea of revelation. Here.
Excuse me, can you make it louder? I mean, full page?
Yeah. Is it okay now? Okay. As you see, different theories of time are discussed, and the hybrid theory is proposed and applied to the two poems chosen in order to prove that current issues can be investigated and solved, and the future can be seen from a new angle. So the main argument here is that time plays an important role in just solving the struggle between one's origin and one's new acquired identity. Although Chang's poems assume a straightforward nature and try either to downplay the past as a separate entity or to stress the impracticability in dealing with present problems, at a deeper level, the circular nature of time dominates Chang's inner conflict between her roots and her new identity. She tries to just refuse the sway and the domination of time over her. She wants to say that the past has nothing to do with the present, with my new identity as a Chinese American. But in fact, when you read her poems and when you go into a deeper level, you find that there is a struggle between her roots as Chinese and her new identity as a Chinese American. Here in this paper, we are concerned with the theory of historical times proposed by Reinhard Kozlik and philosophy-based theory of time. I propose a theory of reciprocity of time and life. Time frames our life, and life subscribes back to time. Here in historical times, Kozlik exerted efforts to understand meanings of these historical concepts into their context. He wants to give history and events and facts a context. So he says that we should have some kind of theory that is historical times, not historical time. Both Kozlik and Foucault supported the idea that a theory of historical time is basic to historical discourse analysis. But Foucault differs from Kozlik. Foucault sees that time is just a marker. Time marks the beginning and the end of the event. But Kozlik sees that time is a subscriber. Time plays an important role in shaping, the events, in shaping the facts itself. Structure and synchronicity are key terms if we are going to understand the relationship between the theory of historical times and conceptual history. We should understand first the term structure. Structure is given by time. It's a time frame. And synchronicity, we mean by it the events that are, are coming in succession one by one. Any event or action unfolding in the present depend on conditions in the past as much as they depend on wishes and plans for the future. So it's a kind of succession. And this succession sometimes is seen as circular. And it is seen by St. Augustine as what? As present. We have three presents for him, three present tenses. We don't have future, we don't have past as we would see now. Al-Saji proposed that past and present are coexistent. So there is no separate past, there is no separate present, they are coexistent. The past has repercussions for memory and intersubjectivity. So we can see time as memory, and this memory pops up in the present. So they are coexistent. And here, if we take Bergsonian intersubjectivity in a wider sense, This includes a real bridge between the past and present. And here we can, we can account for and we can interpret the history of this struggle between one's roots and one's new identity in terms of linearity. For St. Augustine, eternity and time have no common basis. Time is a creature. It has a beginning and it has an end. So we shouldn't just mix the term time with the term eternity if we're talking about the philosophy of St. Augustine. So it is just a creature. So he doesn't have past, present, and future. And to solve this problem, he proposes the concept of three present tenses, of which, coincide by the grace of the mind. Our theory today, which I propose, is a hybrid one. It takes from different theories, just to put into one theory. As I said, that Foucault sees time as just a marker, but here I developed Foucault's concept of time, and it is a subscriber. And Kozlik and Foucault's concept that historical times is basic to historical discourse analysis is modified and applied to the discussion of the below poems, as we will see together. For the sake of time, here, Sage's proposed theory of time, based on the coexistence of past and present, supports evolution and revolution of time, which is reflected in the analysis of the two poems. Time evolves and revolves, and with the evolution and revolution of time, our own life is shaped. And it is, preferable if we see into our future based on the past events. A widened scope of Bergsonian intersubjectivity functions as a lens through which ancestors' influence can be traced in the two poems. Augustine's concept of three present tenses is basic to the analysis of the relationship between the then, the memory, the now, the present, and the expectation, the future, in the two poems. So the circular nature of the three entities of time, whether they are intersecting or whether they are seen as separate, still there are a lot of bridges and relationships between them. They affect each other. Here, when we talk about Chang and Asian American literature, in a nutshell, Asian American literature and Chinese American literature is underrepresented. When we talk about these minorities, like the Chinese, Filipinos, etc., they are not fully represented. Asian immigrants, I quote, still constitute socially excluded and politically silent groups in the United States, as several politically conscious writers have attempted to reveal. They are not, to be categorized. They are neither white nor black. So they are underrepresented. They are not categorized, and of course they are silenced, if you want to say this word. In Chang's poems, time is the means by which identity is subtly conceptualized. Through time, one can just have such certain and clear-cut concept of what Chinese American identity is. Asian American poetry is marginalized. You just find about a dozen essays about such kind of poetry, which is, unfair. And this problem should be solved by the minorities themselves, Chinese American or Filipino American or whoever. They should solve this by writing about their own literature. Okay, you'll find this question as dominant in the poetry of the Chinese American, the quest for subjectivity and identity. Tina Chang has been keen on demystifying the role of the poet and bringing poetry to the ordinary people. She is, of course, proclaimed poet laureate now, and her role, as she says, is to make poetry available for all people, for ordinary people in particular. She says, I quote, "I write in order to capture what is no longer there. So in my imagination, I constructed a permanent place where I could live even if the moments were fleeing." Here, the first example is Origin and Ash, or Origin of Ash, and from the title you can figure out the problem. Origin and Ash, two opposite, words. There is an antithetical relationship between the two words. She wants to say that the origin is nothing but ash now in the new territory, in the newfound land in America. I quote, "Bauda rises from a compact platters full of peppermints, a bowl of sour pudding, a cup of milk before me tastes of melted almonds. It is the story of the eve of my beginning. She's talking about her beginning, about the past. The visual image crystallized in powder and the gustatory image in sour and melted almonds, though meant to illustrate the transience of the past, construct a bond with the speaker's roots, sour and melted as it may be. She doesn't want to remember her roots or to talk about her past, because if she talks about her past in such an environment, she will be, just stereotyped as Chinese American. Attempts at severance. She wants to sever her life, her present life, from her past. Ironically enough, the speaker emphasizes severance with the past by recalling an incident from the past while she was a child. In her poem, she says, I quote, okay, being a baby left to face its destiny in water till it was almost dead. The incident stresses the present as the sole important situation for her life. She says in the poem, since then, my eyes were open windows. The year everything fell into them. Since she was a child, exposed to death. Here, Chang departs from a sagest theory of coexistence between the past and the present. She separates the past from the present. And she departs from Kozlik's contextual times and tries to reside in antithesis of Augustine's time, where Foucault's concept of time as marker is also a subscriber to Chang's attempts at severance of past from present. Now, she works on time as memory also, and this is for the sake of time, I have to skip it. The second poem is the idea of revelation. And again, it's ironic, the idea of revelation. What you want to say is that, please, set aside revelation and talk about your present life. Look, the title is ironic since the message of the poem is leave the idea of revelation and search for other down-to-earth ideas and or solutions to your present situation. Seen through Augustine's concept of time, the poem's events cut through the three presents, focusing on the presentment that hovers over this scene. Look at this scene, the futuristic scene. I quote, in her grasp, the shine that is seen, that is beginning, she will work the earth, bounty in the vault of cosmos above her, heat lightning that lassos in its manic current. Now she talks about a woman with seeds in her hands, and she's going to throw the seeds, and the seeds, of course, refer to the future. And here, malleability of time, the ability to change, is perceived as the image highlights the present, skipping past memories. Seeds mark the beginning, and the vegetative image crystallizes time as succession. A product made by the individual who shapes his present and plans for his future. However, according to Augustine's theory, the present contains past. It has three present tenses, of course. The succession takes a circular nature, and this succession develops at the same time is developed by the woman's tillage of the earth, and the visual image in lightning and the tactile one in heat, both crystallized as a lasso, enhance the effort exerted by the woman to reach a revelation of her own. And this revelation is focused upon as what? As revelation of the present. Of course, she works on time as memory, and for the sake of time, I'm going to skip this. Yeah. Commenting on Chang's use of the circular nature of time, Mary, Hu, a poet and a teacher, says, Tina Chang is writing to the future, from the past towards the present, and all the way back. This is what I mean by the circular nature of time. The implication is that the speaker urges her listeners and readers to look into their present problems and find solutions to move forward into the future. Conclusion. The discussion of Origin and Ash illustrates the conflict between the past and the present, memory and transience, and home. And the discussion of the idea of revelation shows the malleability of time with the past and present perceived interchangeably. The conflict between the poet's desire for representing ethnic culture and for solving problems and melting in the dominant one is best investigated through the proposed hybrid theory applied to the two poems. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.